Check to paycheck. Is that you? I'm the CEO of 5 different companies. I wasn't born into it. We lived on welfare, but I wanted more. I created this show, The School of Wealth, helping people escape poverty like I did. I want to help you out of that consumer debt, teach you how to increase your credit score, teach you how to make more money at your current job or your current business, and then how to actually create generational wealth without changing your lifestyle. It is going to be a lot of fun. This is not like regular school. Hey, I'm Rondi Lambeth, and this is the School of Wealth. Hello, my friends. How are you doing? As you can see, I am no longer in Mexico. I have to apologize. That's really bad when you have to start off your show apologizing. I was all fully ready to do this episode last week when I was in Cozumel. I thought that's the perfect place to do this, talking about credit hacks and using your credit and using credit card points to travel the world. And then, you know what happened? I lost internet and I didn't get to do the show. And I like doing live shows. I like the energy. I like answering questions. I did not pre-record it, so therefore I did not do it. So here I am back in the studio, and we're going to try to make up for last week. So for all of you that were ready last week, I sincerely apologize. I can't control the internets, especially not down in, I can't control it anywhere, but you know, that's how it works in Mexico and other countries. When you go, things go down. All right. So tonight we'll be talking about using your credit score, your credit, whatever you want to call it, to travel the world or travel the United States, if that's what you prefer. But really using your credit to pay for those trips and leveraging your credit. You've heard me say this before, that your credit should not be treated as a trophy. Instead, it should be treated as a tool. And let me break that down. I used to own a construction company. I've been building houses, building stuff, most of my adult life. I love construction. Today, Sawyer and I went for a walk, as I generally do every day. And there's a whole subdivision going in really close to me. And I don't know what it is, but I just got to walk around and look at these construction sites and look at how they're building the house and look how they line up the walls and the craftsmanship and how they use their nail gun. I love construction. And why I'm still not in construction is because I love helping people more with their money and credit, but I truly do like woodworking and construction. So I was looking at this house today, and I like just to see how they build stuff and building the house. And then, I've been looking for homes to buy, and occasionally my girlfriend will go with me and she'll be like, "Oh, we should tear that wall out. Can we do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can tear that wall out. We can tear that one out," because I understand how the construction stuff works. Why am I talking about that? Because we can use our credit like a tool or a trophy. See, how much would you respect someone if you hired someone to be a contractor to come in and remodel your house, to build your house, and they had the shiny tool belt on, brand spanking new hammer, not a scratch on it? And you ask them, how long you been building houses? How long you been doing this? They're like, "Oh, 30 years. And you're looking at them and it's pristine clean. And I don't know if you've ever bought a tool belt. I know I have. And they're expensive. And you want to buy the ones with the suspenders and the pockets, and it's all pretty, and it's pretty for like a day if you actually work. But imagine this person comes in and they start to build and everything's brand new. How would you feel about that person? How would you feel about their skills? versus someone who comes in, everything's beat up, their tools are beat up, there's grease, there's grime, there's dirt, there's chips, there's duct tape holding it together. That's kind of how I want your credit to look. I want duct tape holding the credit together. I want it to be beat up. I want it to be used, because credit on a mantle, shiny, polished, perfect, is not very useful. And I'll meet people when I go and travel, and now I'm starting to travel a lot. Amanda and I were talking about this last week when we were in Cozumel. In 2020, I still went to 4 countries. I still went to 12 different cities, or 12 different states, rather. And now I'm back on the traveling cycle. So we slowed down for a little bit. But imagine when I meet people and they say, they ask, what do you do? I said, I help people with credit, their money, their taxes, 401ks, etc. And they're like, oh, I got an 840 credit score. I die a little bit inside. I want to say to them, that sucks. Why do you have an 840? You should be striving for like a 750 with $100 million worth of debt that someone else is paying off. And every day while you sleep, while you work, while you go to the gym, you're getting more wealthy from your credit. See, when you treat credit as a trophy, that's all it is. It's just a trophy from the past. I want to see it getting dirty. I want to see inquiries on your credit report. I want to see credit cards maxed out and getting points from the credit. Okay. So last week I went to Mexico, and as you guys know, I tend to try to do a week of vacation, 5 to 7 days of vacation, somewhere in there, every 90 days. And I say vacation, it's always a business trip for me, because I like to write things off. I try not to buy anything or do anything that's not a tax write-off. It's not 100% of the time. Obviously, if I go to Albertsons and I get some groceries, I can't write off groceries. Tomorrow night, I'm doing a barbecue at my house. We're doing burgers, hot dogs, alligator tail, and halibut. That will be a write-off because I'm doing a business event at my house. But generally speaking, when I go to the grocery store and I get food, that's not a write-off. So most of the time when I spend money, I try to do things that I can write off. How do you write off a vacation / work trip to Cozumel? So tonight I'm going to talk about writing it off and then how I paid for the whole thing. So IRS code allows you to write off travel as long as you are traveling for business. You, as the owner of the company, get to determine what the trip's for. So every 90 days or so, I tend to go on a business trip where I work on Instagram marketing, Facebook, LinkedIn. I try to do some marketing. I try to do some business planning. I try to do goals. I try to do vision, all of that stuff. And so by doing that, and I document it, 4 hours and 1 minute every single day as a minimum, sometimes more, but as a minimum, 4 hours and 1 minute. The IRS allows you to deduct a day going there and deduct a day coming back. So you get 2 days of write-off. So I try to travel on a Monday. So I automatically get Monday off. And I try to come back on a Monday. So I get that Monday off. The weekends are free days. So then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 4 days of a week-long vacation, I have to work 4 hours in 1 day. And I have this all laid out in my planner on what I'm doing every single day. So I'm in Cozumel last week. I did 10 dives. I love scuba diving. Cozumel is one of my favorite places in the world to scuba dive. I scuba dived in the morning. We were on the boat going out to the dive spot by about 8:30. done diving, completely done diving around 11 o'clock in the morning. Turn in our equipment. This time I brought my equipment. Amanda turned hers in. Go back to the room, take a shower, clean up, get the salt off of you. Go down, eat lunch around noon. In the pool, working by 1 o'clock. And from 1 to about 5:30 every single day, I was working. Again, as the business owner, you get to dictate what working means. So I laid the whole thing out, what I would be doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, my work schedule. Okay. That's how I wrote off the trip to make it a legal deduction. Now, how did I get there? I used my travel rewards to get there. I used my Capital One venture credit card points to pay for the resort, which was all inclusive. It paid for all of the scuba diving. Now, the scuba diving is not tax deductible. So I want to use the points to pay for that. The resort is tax deductible. However, I booked it through the scuba diving place to get a 50% discount. So I just rewarded all of it. I just traveled. I just redeemed the travel points on that. Okay. The airfare, I have over 1 million points with American Airlines through my American Airlines credit card. So for me to fly first class from Boise, Idaho to Cozumel cost me $26 in cash. All the rest of it was points. Now, Amanda, my girlfriend, she's not part of my business, not part of Fortress. She's part of a different business that I have. So I can't legally write her off. So, which is why I use the reward points. So I purchased her a ticket from San Diego to Cozumel and then back to Boise, first class. And again, it cost me like $26, $28 for her and Cosmo, her dog, to fly first class to Mexico and back. And the $26, $28 was the tax, which when you redeem it outside of Capital One Venture Card, you got to pay inside the American Airlines app, you got to pay for the tax part of it. Okay. So I paid for that. And then we rented a Jeep. It was $55 for the day plus tax. We redeemed that as well. And so I used my credit card to pretty much pay for the entire trip. And then I redeemed the points to pay for it. Now, I know the Dave Ramsey followers out there, they're going to be giving me some hate. And they're going to remind me that Dave Ramsey at some point last week, the week before, and for the last 10, 20 years, has said he's never met a millionaire that said, I got rich, I become a millionaire through credit card points. And you know what? That is probably true. I've never met anybody that's become a millionaire from points either. I've met many people that have become millionaires from teaching people how to use points, but I've never met anybody that says I become a millionaire from using points. But look, the whole trip from door to door was probably about $4,000. That's a pretty good vacation, right? And if I do it every 90 days, that's $36,000 a year, tax-free. If I wasn't going to do it inside of the rewards and I was going to pay cash, I'd need to make about $60,000 of pre-tax money to pay for the $36,000 vacations during the year. So it is true, you're not going to become a millionaire doing reward points, but that's $36,000 that I didn't have to pay for. That's $60,000 I didn't make. So if I didn't have to take $36,000 of my money to go on business trips and vacations because I used the rewards, and I took that $36,000 and I bought some crypto, or I bought some real estate, whether it's apartment complex or single family home, or I bought some stock in a company that was getting ready to go IPO like Coinbase did recently, then I take that money and that will, my friend, make you a millionaire, or it could make you a millionaire. Imagine if you bought $36,000 worth of Bitcoin 2 years ago. That would be what? 7 coins? And today at 65,000 a coin, that's worth now almost $500,000. What's the math on that? 7 times 65, that's 420 plus the 35. So $455,000. So your vacation, your reward points is $455,000. See how I did that? I saved 36,000. I bought 2 years ago. I bought 7 coins and now it's worth $455,000. See, you cannot, generally speaking, you don't get rich by using your points, but instead you save that money and you invest the money. It's not how much money that you make that makes a difference. It's how much money you keep. So I highly recommend using your credit as a tool, not as a trophy, to save money so you can invest it and then you can become wealthy. All right. So that's what I was doing last week with scuba diving Cozumel. It was amazing. The weather was almost perfect. Could have been a little bit hotter, but hey, I'm not going to complain about it. All right, I'm going to get into some of these questions you guys are asking because I got a whole bunch of them. They were loaded up before I even started. I got questions from 3-part question from YouTube. Currently military, love it. I spent 15 years in the military myself. Says he's loving all the knowledge you're giving out. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I have a notebook with notes waiting for the live. That is awesome. Truly amazing. Thank you for the work you do. My question for you is, which state do you recommend forming an LLC for trading stocks, applying for business credit? He already has one in Delaware. And he says, I hear you talking about Wyoming a lot. What are your thoughts? So Delaware, the reason Delaware is so common, so popular is because of the charging order, as well as Delaware was one of the first states to allow corporations. And so it's got the most amount of case law. But with the formation of LLCs and with technology, you don't necessarily need to go to Delaware anymore. You can do Wyoming and get the same benefit because Wyoming, Florida, and there's a few other states that have the same benefits of Delaware with charging order. And I'll get into what charging order is in a minute. You don't have to pay the high fees of Delaware. In Delaware, generally, you want to do a C Corp, which then you get technically get double taxation, which you might not want to do for stocks and bonds and real estate trading, etc. Then he says, if Wyoming, would you think it'd be a bad idea to disband, so shut down the Delaware one? I formed it 5 months ago to write off my computers, offices, fees, and etc. I don't know. I don't know if it'd be a bad idea for you or not. What happens when you set up a company and then you write it off and then you shut it down? You got to move those assets somewhere else. Generally, there's tax when you move it, and then the new company gets to write it off. So to be clear, I am not a tax professional. I'm not a CPA. I'm an entrepreneur that knows a little bit about tax, a little bit about credit, a little bit about investing. So that would be a really good question for a tax professional. I would tell you what I would probably do. If you're not in Delaware, I would sit down and figure out, is it really worth the money to stay incorporated in Delaware, or should you move it? The nice thing about Wyoming is you can move your corporation from other states and maintain and keep your EIN number. So, for example, last week I was in Cozumel, like I said. Last year, I shut down one of my Nevada corporations because I don't like what Nevada's doing with their income tax for businesses. Nevada in the past has been a tax-free state. They're no longer a tax-free state. It is run by a bona fide socialist. The governor has admitted he ran as a socialist. He got elected. There is now income tax in Nevada. There's a ton of taxes in Nevada for business owners. And I didn't want to pay the tax in Nevada. And so I moved my Nevada company to Wyoming. A company had been there for over a decade because I just didn't want to pay the tax. The nice thing with Wyoming is you can move it to Wyoming and maintain the same EIN number, which means I don't have to switch credit cards. I don't have to change my merchant accounts. I don't have to change my bank accounts. I don't have to do new tax returns. I maintain that EIN number, which is the same as your Social Security number. So you got to look at it and see if it's really worth it for you. I like Wyoming. That's where all my companies are now, are in Wyoming. I like it there. So maybe it's worth it for you. I don't know. I would kind of weigh it out and see. But there's no reason that you got to keep a Delaware corporation. You can easily transfer it to Wyoming, pay the fees. It's like $100 a year for registered agent, $50-$60 a year for the fees, and then you're done. And then there's no taxes at all. Okay. He says, problem is, before I met you, I named it void trading. It's going to be hard to get credit now. Yeah, that's not a great name for building business credit. Look, Fortress is a horrible name. My company, Fortress Inc., today, I spent over 2 hours on the phone today with the SBA on a loan that I've been working on for over a year from one of my companies. And then why it's taken a year is because 2007, named my company Fortress, not knowing anything about business credit back then. And it's a pain in the ass. So if you called it void trading, and I probably would shut down the Delaware corporation and just start a new one with a name that is very unique, that's not going to cause you problems with trying to get business credit. If you're trying to do business credit and real estate and all that, I probably just shut it down, transfer the assets if you need to over to the new company. So yeah, we all wish we could do things differently from the past, right? Thank you, Chastity. Chastity is running everything. By the way, Chastity just got out of the hospital, have a little bout of sepsis again, and she's running everything. So thank her for doing this. All right, Justin, so love to know how I can do that. I'm not sure what that means. I love you, Justin. You're amazing supporter. Appreciate you. What else you got, Chastity? I'm just looking here. If you are listening to this on iTunes, I do these live shows every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you'd like to be part of the show, please log in on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can come live on the show tonight. As of right now, no one has come on live, but I happily welcome anybody come on live. You can do that through Facebook. Click the box there. Chastity will put the link in, and you can ask your question live, or you can put it in the comments. So here's a new one. This is from YouTube. Was thinking of communicating with collectors, seeing if they would do a pay per delete. What can I say or do that will restart the statute of limitations? All right. This is a really good question. When you pay a debtor, or a creditor rather, when you pay a creditor, it does reset your statute of limitation, which means they can sue you. Does not reset their statute of limitations on how long they can report it. So what does that mean? Here we are, April 15th, 2021. If you're listening to this on iTunes or a podcast, you're listening to a recording of it. So here we are, April 15th, 2021. And let's say you stop paying a bill 4 years ago. In most states, the statute of limitations to sue you is 4 years or 48 months. In most states, like 48 out of the 50 states. Which means if you've gone 4 years without making a payment, they cannot legally sue you. If you make a payment without documentation that they settled the debt in full, they can now sue you because you reset the statute of limitations for the suit. Does not mean they can report it for another 7 years on your credit, because the statute of limitations to report it is only 7 years. So it doesn't reset the statute of limitations on the reporting, but it does reset the statute of limitations, or it could, on whether or not they could sue you. So just be clear. So if you are going to make a payment, I highly recommend, and again, I'm not an attorney, so you got to talk to an attorney for legal advice. I highly recommend that you get in writing that the payment will be accepted as settled in full. That whatever you pay will be settled in full, or will be considered full payment. By doing this, they can't now sue you. All right? Something to know. And I've been saying this now for over a year, and I say it almost every single day, and it's due to COVID. Due to COVID, the Chinese virus, the China virus, things have changed. Due to COVID, if you make a payment arrangement of any kind, any accommodation whatsoever, whether they waive a late fee, they accept a payment smaller than what it is, if they accept a payment at all, they legally cannot report it late on your credit report after February 1st, 2020. So if you were late after February 1st, they can't report it. If you make any type of accommodation, which means if they waive the late fee, if they postpone a fee, if they put you in forbearance, they can't legally report you late. Now, if you were late prior to February 1st and they accepted a payment from you, they can't legally report you late. So for all of you watching this, this is a great strategy. It's a strategy that we use at Fortress to get things removed from credit. So I just let you in on a little insider secret that you probably won't hear anywhere else. So great question. I think you should reach out to them. I would not say anything about pay per delete because they legally can't charge you to settle the debt to delete it, because that would violate the Credit Repair Organizational Act, otherwise known as CROA. Don't say anything about deleting it. Just pay it, work out a settlement, and then dispute it later. All right, so here's another question from YouTube. I opened my first credit card last month. Congratulations. That's awesome. Looking to build my credit score as quickly as possible. Okay. No major purchases, car or home, until the end of this year. I will keep my utilization at 10. When should I open my next line of credit or anything else to build credit quickly? Yesterday. That's when you should open it. You need 3 credit cards. 3 credit cards on your credit right now. If you just open your first one, go on right now and get 2 more. Great place to go. If you got decent credit, so you don't have any late payments, no charge-offs, no collections, you're just starting out, creditwallet.com, creditkarma.com, bestcreditcards.com works great. Go there. If you have credit issues, late payments, charge-offs, collections, you have some stuff going on, then go to my website, rondilambeth.com. rondilambeth.com, click on credit cards, because my credit cards will guarantee give them to you as long as you're not in bankruptcy. The only thing worse than an inquiry on your credit report is an inquiry that you never got approved for a credit card on. So if you have credit issues, use the 5 or 7 credit cards that are on my website every day. I say 5 or 7 because it's a live feed. It's constantly changing. Guaranteed credit cards as long as you're not in bankruptcy. If you don't have credit issues, then use the credit wallet, bestcreditcards.com, Credit Karma, etc. So there it is, light rolling across it. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else, fortresscreditpro.com/credit/ dash credit cards. So fortresscreditpro.com/credit-cards. So I would recommend getting the credit cards as fast as possible. 3, minimum 3, and keep your balances below 10%. All right, so back to YouTube. You're the man. Dude, no, you're the man. I appreciate the support. Your reps at Fortress are amazing. I really appreciate that. I really do. You know, sometimes I get some feedback that's not that, and I know it's not them because I listen in. I'll give you an example. I got this call the other day. This person said this was her 4th call and no one had called her back. That concerns me as the business owner. So I immediately log in. All of our stuff's in one system. We can log in. I can see how many times I called, how many times I called them, text message, emails, all that stuff. Concern me. She said, I've called you 4 times. No one's called me back. I log into her. I put in her phone number, pulled up the thing. We've called her 17 times. 17 times. And her voicemail was, I called you 4 times. You guys never called me back. We called 17 times. So I called her the 18th time, got her voicemail. I'm sorry, but the voicemail is full. And so therefore we couldn't leave voicemail. So I appreciate the fact, go back to that one, Chastity. I appreciate the fact that they're awesome because they are awesome. Okay. All right. So you have some questions. All right. Specifically, Vanessa and Teague. Vanessa is awesome, you know, and so is Teague. Vanessa left me for a little while and then she came back, which I'm very thankful she's back. It says, question in regards to building and leveraging credit. Is there a course to build that 100 million in credit? Not just 50K, 100K, so forth, but sold the fancy bike. If you're listening to this on podcast, Cliff James, his profile picture on YouTube is him doing a wheelie on a crotch rocket, but now he rides a Road King. Road Kings are awesome. Yeah, so here's the thing. If you want to build business credit to 100 million, you got to start with 50,000. My friend Andy Frisella, he's got a podcast called The Real AF, as well as the MF CEO Project. You know, first 10 years in business, made like $50,000 total. Didn't have credit at all. In fact, he met Emily, his wife, because she was a debt collector that would call him every day to collect on the debt, and he would start flirting with her. Fast forward, they're married. How's that applied to the business credit? He's building the next Nike. They just built a $1.2 billion facility. But he started out with $100 in business credit. And then it grew and it grew and grew. And now he's got literally billions of dollars of business credit. Billions. So you got to start somewhere. What else we got, Chastity? If you're listening to some podcast, please tune in every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you can request your live questions. You can come on the show. If anybody wants to come on the show, the link is in the comments. Just click on the link and you can come on to the show with us. All right. So with the business credit, I want to talk about business credit. Everybody wants to know about that. It is not, banks are not stupid. I just want to be clear about that. Banks are not stupid. Just because you establish a business or you have an idea for a business, they're not going to throw millions of dollars at you or even thousands of dollars at you. You got to have like a legitimate business, like an EIN number, a website, a phone number, proper email, like a real business. And when you do that, they will give you lines of credit and credit cards and loans. The advantage of business credit versus personal credit is, on average, a personal credit card is around $5,000 to $7,000 credit limit, where the average business credit card is around $30,000. When you use personal credit to pay for your business, the problem is when you max out that personal credit card, it drives down your personal credit score. When you max out a business credit card, it drives your business credit score up because it's the opposite. So think about it this way. One $30,000 credit card on a business is the same as six $5,000 credit cards on the personal side with no negative impact on your personal credit score based on the business utilization rates, which is why business credit is good. And then you can go into pretty much any bank and get $100,000 lines of credit with no financials. And I did a video about 4 years ago where I went in Las Vegas on, I think it was Sahara or Desert Inn. There were 4 banks, one on each corner. And I went from one bank to the next to the next. At the end of the day, I had $400,000 of business credit with no personal guarantees, no financials. I just went from one bank to the next, wrote checks, and I left in a matter of a few hours with $400,000 of business credit. That is the draw, but you got to have an established business with all the stuff in order to do that. It doesn't just happen overnight. The banks just don't throw money at you. Okay. So please don't think that if you bought my business credit course, tomorrow you're going to have $100 million in business credit. You got to keep working on it. Okay. Platinum course is coming. It is coming. I did a bunch of recording recently, and Chastity's been editing it, and it's been good. All right. So last question from Cliff James from YouTube. I have a technical consulting business for 8 years. I earn between 90 and 166,000 a year and want to begin an umbrella corp to begin a residential help desk as well as some retail. Now, I've said this before. I would never be a newscaster because I have a really hard time reading and speaking. I'm a really fast reader and I can speak really fast as well. I'm not very good at reading and speaking. So that jarbled stuff was me, not Cliff's question. Cliff, I don't think there's any reason as a non-tax professional, non-attorney at 90 or 166,000 a year in consulting, especially in consulting, to get a umbrella corp. I don't think there's any reason to do that. I don't know why I know what you're thinking, that you need protection and stuff, but a good umbrella policy. I just renewed it yesterday, $5 million umbrella policy. It's like $400. No, it's $311.95 because I wrote the check today. $311.95 for $5 million of insurance. That's cheaper than setting up a new corporation. So unless you're trying to build business credit with it, focus your efforts and your time on the first business until it's making so much money and it doesn't need you at all. Then you can start the next company. Which brings me to something I want to talk about. You guys have probably seen the memes and probably heard people talk about millionaires have multiple streams of income, and all of that stuff out there, right? On social media. Here's the thing. Don't start and try to get multiple streams of income until the first company that you have, the first stream of income, runs on its own, which means you can leave. I have multiple companies, but they run on their own. I have 2 that demand most of my time, but the other 3, I log in like every 90 days or so. Some of them I do it once a year. So until those are on autopilot, focus on the one. Don't fall into the line, the trap that you need to have multiple streams of income. Down the road, you will have multiple streams of income, but in the meantime, focus on the one. Where can I learn to leverage my personal credit to build wealth in real estate? I would say right here. Right here is a great place to learn about it. There's other places on YouTube. I got a lot of friends that do it. Um, Not necessarily talk about credit, but real estate. One, for example, I listened to today is Robert Kiyosaki. There's a great place. Robert Kiyosaki and Tom Wheelwright, and then all of the Rich Dad Poor Dad Wealth Advisors. That's where I got started in real estate. I listened to Robert's show today. That's a great place. Or right here, I try to share with you what I learned from Robert and some of the other guys over at Rich Dad. What is the best credit cards for travel? My personal favorite credit card for travel, uh, with if I could, let me break that down a little bit. It depends, and I learned to say it depends a lot when I started working with attorneys because it really does depend. It really does depend. My favorite card for redeeming points and getting the rewards, the most amount of points and rewards, is Capital One Venture. Capital One Venture. The problem with the Capital One Venture is it is a personal card. Even though they say it's business, it still reports to your personal, still requires a personal guarantee. Next problem. They have relatively low credit limits. After having a Capital One Venture card for almost a decade, I think my highest credit limit was, I don't remember if I hit 100,000. I don't think so. I think it was $57,000 on it. My current Capital One Venture card that I have, it's $15,000 credit limit. So there's some disadvantages. Not a big credit limit. It does report to my personal credit, and if you use it too much, they potentially could close it like they did to me when I added a celebrity to my credit, and I lost $50,000 credit limit, and I lost a couple million points. That's the disadvantage with Capital One. But for a small business, if you're not doing more than 15, 20,000 a month in revenue or in spending rather, Capital One Venture Card's a great card. It's easy to redeem. It's awesome. You literally log in and you start clicking redeem and you just redeem everything off of it. That's my favorite for redeeming. My favorite for use would be the American Express Platinum card. Does not show up on your personal credit if you have the business version. You get 1% unless you spend over $5,000 at a time, then you get 1.5. They do run specials where you can get as much as 20% back. So for example, like with paper, my company goes through thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of paper every year. So I can go and buy, they'll run a special like 20 points, 20 to 1 points on Staples, for example, staples.com. So I'll go buy a pallet of paper for, I don't know, $1,000 and I get 20,000 points. And now I got a pallet of paper that lasts for a few weeks. Okay. So American Express Platinum is my favorite as far as no limit, no credit limit, doesn't show up on my personal credit. And then my favorite just for cash rewards would be the Citi Card double cash points, double cash. I think it's called the Citi Card double cash. The one I have is the one I use the most of, ends in 2365, and it's got green and blue stripes on it, and it's 2-for-1 cash back on everything. And I literally go in and I hit redeem, and they send me cash. Rewards are tax-free. Cash that you get from it is tax-free. And then on the personal side, it would be the Chase Freedom Card. That's primarily what I use for my groceries, my electricity, and that kind of thing. So thanks for asking the question. That's the best credit card for rewards. What's the best way to handle settlement for less when you need to get approved for a mortgage? That's strategy I talked about earlier. Because of the CARES Act, due to COVID, if they make any accommodation whatsoever, they reduce 1 penny off of your bill, they legally have to report it as positive. If it's a collection, they got to remove it. So work on trying to get something accommodated. 1 penny less is an accommodation. Therefore, you can get it removed. So great questions. All right. Looks like we've been going live for about 46 minutes. I don't see any more questions unless something pops up here in the next few seconds. I'm going to call it a day. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you are managing your credit the right way. Like I said earlier, treat it as a tool, not as a trophy. So you can use your credit to hopefully become wealthy. I did a podcast interview yesterday, and that's what we talked about. You know, if you take all the money you save from your credit cards and you buy assets or investments, you can become very, very wealthy. And by the way, Coinbase just went public, and you can put it inside your IRAs, your Roth IRAs, and your 401ks. So crypto is kind of a cool thing to do. All right, guys, I will see you later. Tune in next week, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard on Thursday.